pesticide that has no chemicals in it. Another person said it's made from nature. Cool. All right. So yeah, I just wanted to ask that question because there's a lot of kind of misinformation out there, misconceptions about what an organic pesticide is. But we're going to learn more about what exactly they are and how you can use them. So in the sense of agriculture, and especially, I guess, kind of the field that I'm in, when we think about organic, I always trace it back to the labeling that the USDA or the United States Department of Ag uses. So if you go in the grocery store, you'll often see this label on many different products, on your produce, could be on cereal, could be on snacks and all that stuff. But so this is a label that comes from USDA, and this is the more formal definition of what organic means. So to sum it up, it's basically a label that they use to indicate that this product was grown or produced using a set of approved methods that they consider to be organic. So when they're thinking about organic, they're thinking about the big picture. So you can see in the second part, they're thinking about the cultural effects of it, the biological effects and all that versus non-organic products. So under the USDA organic program, there is another organization called OMRI, or the Organic Material Reviews Institute. And this is a private nonprofit organization that is responsible for deeming a pesticide organic or not. So they determine whether a pesticide is organic based on the standards that the USDA organic program has set for how different producers can use these pesticides in their operations and still be organic. So also, when you go to the garden store, if you pick up an organic pesticide, chances are you'll see this label right here. It'll say OMRI approved on it or something like that. And that means that that product is considered organic according to them under the USDA organic program. So you can actually download a list of all the products that they label as organic. So if you go to their website, you can download a PDF of the list, or you can go into their live search option where you can just put in an ingredient or a manufacturer to check and see if it's an organic pesticide. So here I just took a screenshot of me using the tool. I put in insecticidal soap, and then at the bottom, well, I can actually just show you. So let's see. So right here, this is their website. So if you go to omri.org and you click on OMRI lists, we'll just say OMRI list. You can download the list or you can search. So I'm in the search right here. So I put in insecticidal soap. So almost 800 results came up. So it lists all the different companies that make an insecticidal soap product that is considered organic. And so you can see here, they list the product name. They'll let you know when it was approved. So, you know, if you're curious to know how to obtain a pesticide that's considered organic, all you have to do is search, and then you can compare what you find with what's available online or in your local garden store. But let's also remember this. So I have this slide here. What is a pesticide? So I broke this down. So a pest, of course, basically any destructive insect or animal that attacks our food crops, our livestock, things like that. Then you also have to break the word down further. Look at the I side part, which means the act of killing. So although these pesticides are considered organic, that doesn't mean they are more safe in the sense of, oh, well, if I accidentally drink some, I'll be fine. If it gets on my skin, I'll be fine. If my child finds it and accidentally does something with it, they'll be fine. At the end of the day, these are still products that are designed to kill living things, right? They still contain different chemicals, different substances in them that can be harmful to us and the environment and others. So I want you all to keep that in mind also. And I can email you this information. So we have a great pest management handbook that you can purchase from UGA or that you can access online. And it actually lists a lot of the most popular organic pesticides in this great chart, and it tells you which one you can use for the specific type of pest that you have. So caterpillars, for example, BT is a very popular organic pesticide for those, whether you have ant problems, stink bugs, scale insects, slugs, snails. So at a glance, you can look at this chart and figure out which pesticides you need to control that pest. So the first one I'm going to talk a little bit about is called BT, or Bacillus Thuringiensis. So this is a pesticide that comes from a microbe that's naturally found in soil. And this is, it basically mainly targets caterpillar pests, but there are different strains that you can use in your products that also target beetles, mosquitoes, flies, moths. And how it works is, once these pests ingest the BT that is on the crop that they're eating, that microbe starts to basically break down their stomach where they can't eat, and they basically starve to death. So that's how that works. So this is a very directed organic pesticide that has very low risk to other bees and beneficial insects. So then there are a lot of different pyrethrin products that you can get. So pyrethrins, like BT, these come, well, not like BT, pyrethrins come from the chrysanthemum flower or plant. So they derive a lot of these from these plants. And this is effective against a lot of different insects. So you'll see these in many different formulations. So, you know, it's not going to be one or two products, but a lot of different products will contain these as well. Then you have your horticultural oils and dormant oils, also derived from plants. So some examples of some formulations you might see include sesame oil, soybean oil, cedar oils, other plant-based oils. I know you can use them on fruit trees a lot, but here's an example of what that will look like. And then you have spinosad, which is another pesticide that's derived from a microorganism in the soil again. So just like pyrethrins, this is effective against a lot of different insects as well. And with this, also, you have to be mindful that it is very toxic to bees until it dries. And with a lot of these organic pesticides, they generally don't have any residual activity, meaning they have to touch the pest that they are targeting to kill it, because once they dry, then that's pretty much it for that. Then neem oil is a very popular one. So neem oil comes from the neem tree, and neem oil is kind of a jack of all trades because it's an insecticide, it's an insect growth regulator, meaning it prevents younger insects from maturing into adults, and it also can be used as a repellent. So this is a very versatile pesticide that you can use. And then you have insecticidal soap. So this one especially, you only can kill pests if the soap actually comes in contact with the pest. So it must be applied directly to it. And the best example of this is aphid. So the organic pesticide that's recommended for aphid control is insecticidal soap. And you can see, you know, aphids usually like to kind of hang out under the leaves and clumps. So it's pretty easy to target them with the soap because they're not pretty much not going anywhere, right? So then you have different sulfur fungicides that you can use, sulfur-based fungicides. And these will again come in many different shapes and sizes as far as how you can purchase them in the store. And then iron phosphate, not as popular as the other ones, but this is the only ingredient used in the only organic slug bait here in the US. So if you have a slug problem, and I just talked to someone who had a slug problem because the slugs were eating, I think, all their collard greens, I believe. So you would be looking for iron phosphate slug control pesticide for that application. And then diatomaceous earth is also very popular, but as of right now, we no longer recommend this because for the most part, it's not very effective because especially when the environment it's in gets damp or humid, then it pretty much loses all of its effectiveness. And also, let's see. And also, if you've ever dealt with diatomaceous earth, you try to use it in your garden, you can tell that it's also very, very dusty. So it's also difficult for you to avoid breathing that in and getting it everywhere. So right now, we don't recommend you using this anymore. And then we have our home brews. So I've heard a lot of different concoctions that people make to get rid of pests, everything from hot sauce and soap and garlic and baking soda. I've heard one person told me specifically about Irish Spring soap that allegedly keeps, pests away. So here at UJ Extension, we don't recommend any home brews because we don't have any research to back that up. And also these products that we see here, none of these are labeled for pest control. Hot sauce is labeled for you to put on your food, right? Or put in the soup or something. So we don't recommend home brews. So again, these pesticides are considered organic. And I know a lot of us, as soon as we hear the word organic, we automatically think, safe and natural and it's perfect and all. But again, safety is still an issue. So as far as the environment goes, you also want to be mindful of using pesticides around beneficial insects. So you want to make sure first that you're only using pesticides as needed, and it's best to apply them in the late evening or at nighttime even, because that's when our pollinators like our bees and butterflies and other beneficials are are pretty much less active during those times. And you never want to apply any insecticides when plants are in bloom either. And then again, you always want to read the label. So it's an organic pesticide. It's still a risk to you. It's still a risk to the environment, your family, your pets. So you always want to read the label and make sure you're following it to the T. So these are 8 quick fast rules of using pesticides safely. So again, first, we only apply when needed. So if my greens look like this, they're caterpillars just destroying them, I'll definitely want to use a pesticide to keep this under control, right? But at this point, you probably have no other choice, right? Or you just donate them to the caterpillars. So again, the label is your friend. So anytime you buy a pesticide, you want to, get to know it very well. Make sure you know all about it. What formulation are you using? What is it labeled for? So if it's labeled for, for you to use on your lawn only, then you obviously don't want to use it on your vegetable garden, right? So be careful with that. And then being aware of what the active ingredient is. And then of course, the label will tell you even more about where to use it, how to use it, what to look out for. Storing it safely. So this is very important as well. So again, organic pesticides. So you want to always keep your pesticides in the original manufacturer's bottle. You never want to pour it out into, a water bottle, a soda bottle, a food container, because someone could easily mistake that for something and consume it. And then that's a whole nother situation there. And of course, making sure you keep it away from pets and small children. Preventing drift and runoff is important because neem oil, for example, is very toxic to fish. So if you had a vegetable garden that's next to a pond maybe or a lake, you don't want to, just soak your garden in neem oil to the point where it can just easily run off into the surrounding water areas. And that would be another problem. Dressing appropriately. So how many of you have ever applied pesticides dressed like either of these pictures? And you can put it in the chat or unmute yourselves. I saw one person smiling, so I must have called out somebody. Yep, so someone put a smiling face in the chat. All right, so yeah, with applying pesticides, right? So the person on the left here has shorts, short sleeve shirt, sandals, and then they have this big tank. So if you're applying pesticides like that and wind comes through or something like that, you can easily get exposed to it on your skin, right? So you want to make sure that you are dressed appropriately, like this gentleman here. You can see he has eye protection on, he has a mask, he has a hat, long sleeves to cover up his arms, gloves, long pants, closed-toed shoes. Even though he could be applying a natural pesticide to his garden, you still want to make sure that you protect yourself at all times. Then making sure, this goes back to just reading the label, you know, so if you buy something that needs to be mixed properly, you need to make sure that you read that and that you're measuring it carefully. And this is very important, especially in the middle of the pandemic. We've seen it everywhere. Make sure you wash your hands. So if you're applying pesticide before you eat, before you go and drink something, before you go in your house to the kitchen, you want to make sure that you clean your hands, wash your body, wash your clothes to prevent possible contamination. And then here are just some common signs of pesticide exposure, because you can still experience some of these symptoms from these different pesticides if you are exposed in the wrong way. So for more information, so for example, if you want more information like that chart I showed or the link to the Armory site, you can send me an email or give me a phone call.
Thank you for that, Brandon. One of the things you asked a question earlier, what do you think organic pesticide is? And I, in my mind, was thinking anything that's truly natural that wouldn't harm your body. If you put it on food, wouldn't harm the plants and what's not. But now I know some completely different. And I think that's because a lot of times when I'm doing my vegetable garden, or where I'm from, when we're doing vegetable garden, we are not really putting anything that we buy from a store on our plants, but we are doing what you mentioned, making some of those homemade brews and spraying it on our fruits and our vegetable gardens, so that, it is safe for us to